Do you ever hear yourself saying, why is it always up to me to sort things out? They'd all fall apart without me. I keep everything together. It's so exhausting. They never listen to my advice. I don't know why I bother.
As parents, we're naturally drawn to try and fix our children's problems, like we're somehow responsible for them, and the guilt we feel is enormous if our kids aren't okay. This different approach to thinking about problems has freed me as a parent and has helped many parents I've worked with too. The basic premise is that every human being has an inner superhero that gives us the power to survive and even thrive in the face of some pretty awful stuff. When we trust that about each other, it's our own superheroes who come to the rescue. We don't have to fix things for other people. Those superheroes are created out of our own lived experience. Every time we learn something new, take a chance, work something out for ourselves, stand up for what we believe in, and experience even small successes, we help that superhero to grow. It's very hard to trust that other people, particularly children, really have that capacity. And the parent mode in us seems to take over and tells us that things are our fault if they go wrong, and we must be responsible for fixing them.
So the truth is, and this is the hard bit, that we cannot make anything better for someone else. The solutions to someone else's problems have to come from them, authentically. Otherwise people don't have a real belief and commitment to them. No matter how much advice we've been given over the years, or how many helpful, well-intentioned people around us have told us what they think is right for us, what we ought to do, what we should do, what they would do if they were us, we all know that the advice and the solutions that people offer to us out of their care for us don't always work well, because they didn't come from us, and only we know what we actually need.
Who likes to be given advice without asking for it? Who likes to be told what to do? No one, ever. So, when we start to say to our children, this is no good, this has to change, you need to do that differently, you need to think about what you need to do to make things better, things again begin to unravel. Firstly, because we are saying you, and that is a demand. Remember our last film about making requests and not demands? Secondly, because when we are in real difficulty and someone says, what do you need to do to feel better? We simply don't know. I have had children and adults say to me in response, if I knew the answer, I wouldn't be feeling this awful and things wouldn't be this bad. So, if we can't fix, and advice is often unhelpful, what can we do?
So the good news is that when we simply notice what is okay in a person and point it out to them, it really helps them find their own solutions to things. We can stand alongside, take a deep breath, and look at things from a different angle by looking for what's right and not what's wrong. We can reframe both the problem and the child. We can put the problem in perspective and view the child as capable, as having the inner ability to survive and to get through the problem. If we pay attention to what our children are doing that's okay, like the times when they do get out of bed, when they do communicate with people, even if it's their peers and not us, when they do tell us what they're feeling and even what they need, when they do have a laugh and join in, we can start to see the clues for what could help that to happen more often. One of the big things in our conversations with parents and carers is when we ask how they would like things to be different, they often talk first about what they want to not happen anymore. I know, I'd like there to be no arguing, I'd like them to stop shutting themselves away in their room, I'd like them to stop drinking. But we always follow that up with, what would you like to see instead? And this really sparks the imagination. Now you're thinking about the presence of something you want and not the absence of something you don't want. It might sound picky, but when you start imagining the things you do want, you start noticing them when they happen, even just a little bit. And then you can build on that. Having the absence of something you don't want just leaves a big space, a vacuum. Quite simply, you see more of what you pay attention to. So pay attention to what you want to see.
One lad I worked with used to just kick or hit whenever emotion got too big. When I wondered if he just needed to be heard and appreciated, he said yes. Then I reminded him that I'd seen him walk away from another child instead of hitting him last week. He said, yeah, if I get myself into a space away from them, I can calm down and then I don't hit them. So he had told me about what had worked for him. I could have demanded that he stayed in at lunchtime. I could have said, you need to stop hitting, you can't go around doing that. But that would not remind him that he already has things he does that help him through the day. And by paying attention to the times when it goes well, I helped him remember, and that boosted him. He remembered more and more. He went from hitting somebody every single day to there being one incident in the following 4 months.
There is power in this. You have to practice this and not get sucked in to only focusing on the problem story. But I can tell you that we've not met anyone who has not seen how amazingly this works and how quickly it works too. Practice is at the root of it. It's like going to the gym. You can't go once and walk out all buff. You have to keep going, and then you see the gradual change over time. Like we said before, behaviour that we find challenging might not be because children won't do differently, but that they can't. And if they really won't, then we can try seeing that as a legitimate expression of their need for making their own decisions and being independent.
Our top tip for this film is to see what happens when you try viewing your child as a superhero who is able to change, even when you don't always see that spark in them. It is in there, and the way we think about them, speak to them and respond to them makes the difference.